I used to struggle a lot with my to-do list, and that is actually what got me into the path of researching and learning more about how to better manage my time and productivity as a whole. Now, when I learned what I'm going to share with you in this video, I was no longer overwhelmed by my to-do list at all. I can't say that I complete everything on my to-do list all the time, but the point is I no longer get overwhelmed by it or stressed by it. So in this video, we are going to crack down why your to-do list is not working and how to fix that. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura, and here we talk about productivity, creativity, personal growth for those with a 9 to 5 job and a side hustle. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I put out a new video. First, let's talk about the 3 common to-do list mistakes. Number 1, your to-do list is just way too long. And because of this, you're stressed out, you're overwhelmed, and you think that you need more time than you actually do. The second mistake is you do not prioritize the most important tasks. And the third mistake, you do not have deadlines for your tasks. And because of this, you keep procrastinating, which causes you to continually add to your to-do list. Now, if this sounds familiar, please add a comment in the chat. I really want to know your experience. So why do most people make these mistakes, and what do you need to do in order to stop making these mistakes? Now, the first thing is most people are not realistic about the time that they actually have. They want to accomplish so much, but they do not take into consideration how much time they really have in order to set their goals. And one of the reasons why a lot of people do this is because they are comparing with others. You see your peers, you see other people, maybe within your age group and whatnot, and you are comparing with them. You feel like you are not where they're supposed to be, so you set goals to get to a certain place without taking into account how much time you actually have in order to get the things that you want to get done. In my experience, there are 2 different ways that people compare themselves with others. The first one is FOMO. Here, you think you haven't achieved as much as your peers, so you get into the rabbit hole of trying to get to where they are by doing the things that they do without really getting an understanding of all the components that have made these people what they are today, all of the components that have contributed to them getting to where they are. Now, the second kind of people who equally compare with others, but in a different way, are the overachievers. They look at what others are able to accomplish on a daily basis. They look at all of the tasks that they are able to do or that they say they're able to do, and they feel like if this person can do all of these things, I should equally be able to do all of these things that are on my to-do list. So in their minds, if they are not doing so much, then they are lazy. Meanwhile, your goal should always be to do less in order to achieve more. So what you want to do is stop comparing with others, focus on yourself, figure out the time that you actually have. Now, since you have a 9 to 5 job and you want to start your side hustle, you want to evaluate how much time you actually have that you can dedicate towards your side hustle. Now, do not compare with any other person. You can learn from them, you can be inspired by them, but do not compare with them because you have no idea what the circumstances around your lives are, right? You have your own life, you have your own path. So focus on that, figure out your own tasks. What time do you have? What time do you have that you can dedicate towards your side hustle? And then create your goals and your to-do list around that. Another thing that people do is they add to their to-do list instead of eliminating, instead of subtracting from their to-do list. Most of the time, the things that we spend time on are really not important. Which brings me to my next point is you learning how to eliminate. Now, if you have to add anything to your to-do list, if you make your to-do list every single day or every single night for the next day, and you realize that there is something that you have to add to your to-do list, or an emergency or something comes up, which happens, make sure that you are taking out another task, right? Ensure that you're taking out another task. So it is very, very important that you eliminate from your to-do list rather than just adding. You want to replace, right? Make sure that you're taking one thing out and adding another thing. Or when you're adding one thing onto your to-do list, you're taking another thing out, depending on the time that you have. Because whether you like it or not, this new task that you are adding onto your to-do list is going to take up the time of something else, whether it's your sleep, whether it's your rest, whether it's your quiet time, whether it's a time you need to work out, right? Whatever task you are adding to your to-do list or you keep adding is going to take up time or take up the time from another task. So what you want to do is you make sure that you are intentional about eliminating tasks from your to-do list. Be very intentional about that, rather than just adding and taking the time off of something that maybe you shouldn't be taking time off of. So you need to acknowledge this, right? You need to be realistic about the time that you have. Acknowledge it, be okay with it, rather than just adding to your to-do list and adding and adding and adding, and then eventually being stressed by it and figuring out at some points that you have been procrastinating a task that is actually important. Now let's talk about prioritizing. There are a lot of people who do not know how to prioritize. You keep hearing prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. However, you do not understand what tasks to prioritize and how to go about this process. Now, there are two strategies that I use to prioritize, which is the Eisenhower strategy and the one thing strategy. The Eisenhower matrix is where you divide your tasks into 4 different categories. And this is urgent and important, urgent and not important, not urgent and important, not urgent and not important. Your priority is what is urgent and important. The things that are urgent and not important should be scheduled, meaning you can do this at a later time. You can schedule that on your calendar. Make sure you schedule it on the calendar and then block out time on your calendar to get these tasks done. Now, the things that are urgent and not important are essential tasks that you can delegate to others. Those are the things that you can outsource, right? You do not need to do those things yourself. So those things do not have deadlines. With the Eisenhower matrix, it says you can delegate to others, you can outsource those. But if you do not outsource those, if you cannot afford to outsource these tasks, what you can do is you can equally schedule those tasks. Again, find time and block out time for those tasks. And lastly, the things that are not urgent and not important should be deleted from your to-do list. Those are the things that you do not even want to add to your to-do list, right? You can write them out on a list somewhere where you can always go back to, but those should not be on your to-do lists. If you can follow this strategy, if you can follow this matrix, you're going to realize that most of the time, the things that you have to do have already been scheduled, right? Because you already have a system, you already have a process, and you realize that a lot of the things that you have to do is already part of your routine. You are not at a place where you are trying to catch up, but it is part of your routine. It's already been scheduled, and you are just doing what you are supposed to do. Now, the other strategy that helps you prioritize, which is something that I use, this is my number one strategy in order to prioritize certain kind of tasks, right? Or when I want to create my goals, this is the strategy that I use, the one thing strategy. And I learned this strategy from the book, The One Thing. I have a video on this strategy and it is linked and you can watch the video after this. But basically, this strategy is you figuring out what is the one thing that if I do this, it is going to make everything else unnecessary or easier. There are times when you need to do research to figure out what to prioritize, especially if you're starting out a new project and you do not know where to start. So regardless of where you are, these 2 strategies is going to help you get there because you still need to prioritize the research. Lastly, let's talk about setting deadlines. Now, if you have a goal and you set a deadline, you are more inclined and motivated to take action steps towards achieving the goal and less inclined to procrastinate. So do well to set deadlines for your goals, right? Once you do that, then you will be able to set deadlines for the action steps for your tasks. Deadlines help you create a system. Once you have deadlines, it helps you build that system. It helps you create a system rather than just ending at a goal, right? Once you have deadlines for your goals, you will eventually have deadlines for your tasks, which are your to-dos. And if you prioritize effectively and implement the Eisenhower technique, it will be easier for you to effectively establish deadlines automatically. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel and I will see you in the next one.